To the blind, this may come off as Christian indoctrination, but to Christians, this is scripturally based doctrine of conduct through salvation that's over time been slightly lost in demonstration. Jesus of Nazareth, the author of salvation. So he who has an ear, let him hear, please, and listen. Many of God's children have become lukewarm and nonchalant about doing the Savior's request. He said, if any man follows me, he must deny himself first and pick up his cross. So blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. By doing so, no one is able to take you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy. Also, be not conformed to this world, neither love the things that are in it. Thus, as Christians, seek first his kingdom and righteousness, and all these other things will be given. But when you ask, it is not given because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. But if you hold to his teachings, you are really his disciple. But if you're still seeking to please men, you're not even worthy of the title. You were bought with a price. Don't you have any idea what this means? For you and me to confess we believe, the King of Kings had to be stretched out on a tree. Jesus of Nazareth, the author of salvation, for he views the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. This includes but not limited to rape, murder, and even child molestation. That's why we as believers are to present our bodies as a living sacrifice to the weary and burdened who are aching to see the light of Christ. So if you're impervious to love, then you will certainly prove to be useless. That's why Jesus said, by love will men know who his is. So woe to those who put their faith in things that are tangible and ungodly. Because you have a little money, you believe that it's something. Jesus describes you as being poor, blind, and naked, because a man's life does not consist of the abundance of his possessions. So be aware of men who've been robbed of the truth, who preach only that godliness is a means of financial breakthrough. Instead, put on the full armor of God to stand firm against Satan and his schematics. Jesus of Nazareth, the author of salvation. So no longer are we teaching safe sex, but on this day, abstinence, because presenting our bodies as holy and acceptable is the highest act of worship. So abstain from fornication, for this is his will and your sanctification. For this is how we know that we really come to know him, when we do what he commands. That's why Jesus said, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I say? Jesus of Nazareth, the author of salvation. I say this in repetition because in his name, the nations will be optimistic. So as I speak the sword of the Spirit, I bind any demonic interference. Like Joshua said, choose this day whom you will serve, because in these times, we're no longer just playing church. Remember, not everyone that says Lord, Lord will enter into the kingdom. Only those who fulfill the will of the Lord's mission. So tell me, what will you do when you come before his presence and he says, depart from me, I never knew you, you worker of iniquity. This is the biblical doctrine of conduct through salvation that's over time but slightly lost in translation. Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the author of salvation.
I'm Wesley. I'm an 11th grader at Cambridge High School. Tonight, really gonna hammer home some of the points that Emily's already made. May seem a little repetitive, but hopefully gonna dive in a little deeper and really just get a deeper meaning of what it is to live for him completely, and not kind of just talk the talk, but fully get into walking the walk. As mentioned periodically throughout the video, we live in a world that surrounds us in a culture of selfishness, prejudice, discrimination, oftentimes hate. Some might call the world fake, as people are overcome with possessions and not, or are worried about judgment and what they have and what other people have versus what they have and what they wish they had. This world has gotten so far from being a world of love. And we, as Christians on a large scale, and even us as Christians in the North Fulton area, could be argued that we're becoming just like everyone else. We're all falling into this trap, this culture. It's a tough one to live in, and we fall into that trap of just saying that we're a Christian, but not really acting like it. So I'll tell you a little bit about where I am and where I've been. Growing up in the church, much like a lot of you, always came to church since I was young and can remember. We came to Alpharetta when I was in the 4th grade. Middle school rolled around. I started going to Lit. I'd go on the occasional retreat. I'd hang out with the friends I was making. And that whole time I thought, hey, I'm a great Christian. I go to church all the time. I'm there all the time. I do this. I must be a great Christian, right? So that continued all throughout middle school. There was a time when I allowed sports really to get in the way because I thought I was a good Christian. I thought just going to church Sunday mornings would cut it. And then the summer after my 8th grade year rolled around, and I went on Beach Retreat for the first time. Played a ton of basketball, had a lot of fun, met some new people, made some friendships better. And that last night rolled around, and all these people around me were crying, and they were upset and kind of torn apart by that last night with the theme, "Where are you going?" And I felt nothing, and I was so confused. All these people around me were so emotional and so upset, and there were so many tears and so many hugs, but I felt nothing. I was not torn apart by anything. I was not upset about anything. I thought, I'm a great Christian. I'm going where I need to be. But the more I thought about it, it really started to hit me even then that there's more to it than just saying you're a Christian and showing up to church. Church is not an event, and being Christian is not a title. You cannot show up to church and think you're going to get into heaven, you're going to fulfill His will just by simply showing up to church. Church, yes, includes fellowship. That's a really important part. But that's not all. That's not why we should be there. The fellowship we should be there for is the relationship with the Lord. That's the most important friendship each and every time we walk into the church building. And so by just showing up to church and saying you're a Christian, you're making that just a title. That is no longer a lifestyle, or however you want to phrase that. We go through the week just going through the motions, doing our homework, cussing here and there with our friends, doing whatever, procrastinating, nothing to just fully fulfill the will that the Lord has given us. And so why are we just sitting back, just talking this talk and not walking this walk? 1 John 2, 4 through 6, whoever says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly the love of God is perfected. By this we may know that we are in him. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. Ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. He obviously is Jesus, and simply showing up to church is not walking as Jesus did. Jesus did so much more. He lived out the will of his Father, our Father as well, in all that he did. Every word he spoke, every action he took was to fulfill and glorify the name of the Lord. And we're all guilty of that, myself included. As Emily said, I'm not up here preaching to you, I'm preaching with you. I'm just as guilty, so don't want that connotation or confusion. But just going out into school and like Monday, 2 days from now, what are you going to do? Are you going to fall back into the ways that you had before, or are you going to truly actually be inspired by something this weekend? And are you going to put that forward and start that walk of fulfilling the will, glorifying all that we do? It really is. It's tough. The world we live in is tough to really go all in. Stuff holds us back. People hold us back. The fear of judgment holds us back of really going all in. But to really fulfill his name, you really have to go all in. And as difficult as that may seem, it's really the only way to fulfill his name. There's a group called the Knights of Templar from the Middle Ages. Big group of burly, huge, like terrifying men with their swords and their armor. Not necessarily a group you'd want to mess with, but they decided they'd be baptized in the name of Jesus. And so they'd go into the river, but they'd take their swords with them. And as they were dunked into the water, they'd hold their sword out of the water, saying, "Lord, you can have me, but what I do on the battlefield, you can't have." And that's not all. That's not all of them. And so I raise the question to you, what is it that you're holding out of the water? Is it money? Is it your friends? Is it the fear of judgment? What is it? It's difficult, but there has to be something, and to really buy into this and dive all in, we have to submerge whatever it is and let God just take over everything. All that we have, no matter whether we want him to or not. There's nothing greater than God, obviously. There's supposed to be a picture, but yeah. So he, being the Lord, is greater than I. We cannot do this on our own. You can't just walk through life going, I'm a Christian, without really having the Lord be a part of you each and every second of every day in all that you do. He gives us the power. He's empowered us to change this world that is driving further and further away from a world of love. Who better than us? The people of Christ. We are empowered, and if nobody's going to, then why not us? I'm not saying you have to change the world and go to Africa and feed all the hungry. However, that is great. Mission trips, yes, are fantastic, but it's the little things. It's holding the door open for somebody. It's serving them. Let's see. Living as Jesus will bring the change to the world that we want to see. There's that quote from Gandhi, be the change in the world that you want to see. The only way to see the change you want and to continue to make this world and bring people to Christ is to be the ones to do it. But to do that, you have to dive all in and have to walk the walk. Matthew 5:13-16. You are the salt of the earth, but salt has lost its taste. How shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Changing our community, that's the first step. You don't have to go all in. In your school, in your home, with your siblings, as annoying as you may think they are, there's nothing to do but love on them. As difficult as that may seem, trust me, a little sister, an older sister, they're pesky. So you just have to buy all in. Like, there's going to be frustrations, but it's how you react to those and how you deal with those that's going to set you apart and wonder, why are they different? Why does that not upset them? It's because of the Lord and the power that He's put in you to understand that, yes, all things happen for a reason, and it's in His will, and it's how you overcome it through the Lord that's going to define you. And just to hammer this point home some more, like, you cannot do that. You cannot get through these frustrations in school, in your homes, with friends, whatever, unless you have Jesus right by your side. Luke 6:46-48. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? Everyone who comes to me and hears my word and does them. Oh wait, sorry, I skipped one. That's awkward. Okay, there we go. Romans 12:1-2. There we go. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of the Lord and what is good and acceptable and perfect. This society that I speak of, you cannot conform to it. That's not in the Lord's will. To dive all in is to go against the current. As difficult as that may seem, the Lord's got you though. And that's what Luke 6:46-48 says. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when a flood arose, the stream broke against that house and could not shake it, because it had been well built. If you give your all to the Lord, he will be a rock, and he will never disappoint you, just like Brendan said yesterday. To fulfill the calling of bringing people to Christ, you have to do that. You have to build your foundation on the Lord. If you have no foundation, these frustrations and tribulations in life are going to arise, and you're not going to have anything to back you up, and you're going to fall into society and conform and not be the change that we're called to bring in the world. And so I really challenge you with that this weekend, is just to find those ways in your life that you can take something from this weekend or scripture or a song or something, and just apply that to your life and live like Jesus did. If that's holding a door open for someone, if that's being nice to your sister one day at a time, because that's a good start. Whatever it is, no matter how little, no matter how big, it all is the change, and it's all what we're called to do, which is to bring people to the Lord and to share his great word and the acts that Jesus has done for us, such as dying on the cross. It's the greatest gift in the world, and why would we throw that away by sitting around and not diving all in and walking this walk? So I just challenge you. I hope something I've said can inspire you to take that out on Monday, and not just to have a God high, but to make that a way of life and to really jump in. And it may seem like you're jumping in the deep end, but trust me, God's got you. He's going to throw you those life rings when you need them. He's there, and I just hope that you can find a way to start living your life in such a way that you're no longer just using being Christian as a title, but as a lifestyle in which you inspire all of those around you. And that is all I have.